In today's video, I wanted to talk about a topic I've been meaning to talk about for quite a while actually, and recently I saw a video from Thor Skywalker which was basically the inspiration for me to make this video, which I will link down in the description below, and it is about Luke Skywalker and the debate around his character of how he was in The Last Jedi. This is not a rant video, I don't really care about those, I'm not really here for those. I want to have constructive discussion about topics without calling each other names and just being angry all the time, because it doesn't actually make a whole lot of difference in the world. But this video would rather be an objective analysis on that creative decision, and I would like to present to you a new perspective on this whole issue which I've had for quite a while. And starting off, I would just like to say that the character of Luke Skywalker has had a clear character arc in the original trilogy. Of course, he, from a whiny farm boy, becomes a Jedi Knight who was quested, or that he rebuilt the Jedi Order basically from the ashes after defeating the Emperor and saving his father through his attachment to him. And my first question regarding Luke Skywalker's handling or character in The Last Jedi would be, why would you give him another character arc? Because he has already had one, a very profound one at that, throughout 3 films. So right off the bat, I would say that giving him another character arc is kind of redundant, because the audience is already connected to him because we have seen the original trilogy. And even just doing a character arc throughout just one film, which is like 2.5 hours long, and he is not even the main character, or not supposed to be the main character of a film, it's not the best choice, to be perfectly honest. And as Thor Skywalker's video has mentioned, one thing that writers do in order to tell stories about the characters that they want to tell is to place them in a contrived situation. And the thing is with Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi is that the situation feels too contrived, and it doesn't feel natural, as it doesn't come from the creator of Luke Skywalker himself, that being George Lucas, of course, and it rather feels like a personal need from the viewpoint of the director than just a story need in general. And I think this was one of the biggest detriments of this whole character in that film, is because it was rather just a personal need or even want than what the story actually needed. And another point would be that Luke Skywalker, after Return of the Jedi, he's kind of like this paragon character, especially when we are talking about an older Luke Skywalker, like what he appeared to be at the end of The Force Awakens, where he has his white robes on. He looks like a paragon character. He basically looked like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. And George Lucas has also made this mistake, is that paragon characters, not that they don't need, but they don't really have any growth. Therefore, they don't need or can't have any more character arcs, and they are not necessarily the characters that the audience wants to identify with. The main example being that you don't necessarily identify with Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, you just like him as a character, but you identify more with Frodo. Same goes for Star Wars, where you don't identify yourself with the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi or Yoda, you identify with the character of Luke and Leia and Han. And I feel like the biggest detriment that this forced character arc of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi has resulted in was basically the underdevelopment of the new main characters of the whole trilogy. Because after The Force Awakens, people over the internet, basically that everybody that I have talked to, were like, I want to see what happens next. And they were asking questions about like who this character is when it came to Rey, and not necessarily what she's gonna do next, or that I'm excited to learn what she's gonna do next, but I'm excited to learn about her as a character, and not because that we like her, but because we are intrigued by the mystery surrounding her. And this movie would have had to deal with those questions and develop the characters further, in a sense that the first movie did not, as the first movie didn't really give you any reason to like these characters other than the older characters like them. This movie should have developed the characters further down the line, but the thing is that as Luke Skywalker has a character arc in this film, a lot of screen time goes to Luke's arc as a whole. And I feel like that this was just a terrible decision, as there was a need to develop the new main characters, not a need to tell a story about Luke's arc. And I felt like that it was a complete waste of screen time, as it took time away from developing the new characters into learning something new about a character who has already had his moment, if you will, who has already had his character arc. There was not a lot of growth for him when you think about that he is the Paragon, or he is now the Obi-Wan Kenobi or Yoda of the new trilogy. And just a quick question, why didn't Anakin get the same treatment then? It would have been much more interesting when these lessons, or the Anakin's Force Ghost, questioned himself in a way, because he would have been the one to teach us this lesson, I feel like, because he was part of the fallen Jedi Order, and he was the biggest example of why the Jedi fell in the first place. And another big problem with this creative decision was that there was a need to just look at the bigger picture as a whole and what the story needs, not necessarily what the creative individual needs. And throughout this point, I would like to lead you to one of my examples, which we have learned in negotiation classes in university, is that you can categorize your preferences into 3 categories, basically. You have needs, wants, and likes. And what I feel like when you're working in such a big story as Star Wars, which has a linear continuity, and the continuity or the canon is the whole story of the franchise, I feel like that the needs of certain creative individuals have to become rather wants or likes, because needs are the things that you don't really want to abandon. But when it comes to something as rigid as Star Wars canon, there are a lot of things which you have to do in order to tell the best story possible. And I feel like this was a big problem, which I mentioned again, that it was rather all needs but not wants and likes, in a sense, from the director. When you have full creative control over the 8th installment of the Star Wars saga, you basically can implement all the needs that you want, because everything that you maybe have wanted or just liked in the first place can now become needs. So therefore you have a need to implement them into your film, and this can have a detrimental effect on the film. And the single biggest problem arising from this Luke Skywalker's character arc is the wasted screen time, because the new characters are not interesting on their own, as they didn't even struggle to begin with, and they were just not interesting as well. So there should have been some time spent on the new characters instead of Luke Skywalker to just develop them further, and for the audience to become invested in them for the finale of the Skywalker saga, or just for the sequel trilogy that Disney have made. But now it is your turn. What do you think about Luke's arc in The Last Jedi? Or would you have preferred to spend more time with the characters or with the new characters themselves? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and thank you for watching this video. Subscribe for more content like this one, and I will see you in the next one. And until then, remember to keep it insightful.